Renew my motion.
Representative Pearson.
Thank you, Speaker. And just a quick thing to everybody who is watching these proceedings, and particularly folks at TSU, we won't quit fighting because we must. As it relates to this law.
There's objection. So we either go on the board or, okay, Leader Lamberth, what's your objection for? What's your objection?
Objection. I would ask the member again today to stay on the topic of the bill instead of revisiting issues that are either ahead on the calendar or behind on the calendar. At this point, it is merely an objection, and he's been called out of order. I would ask that we stay on the bill so that we can debate the merits of each bill.
Very good. Representative Pearson.
Again, thank you for the objections, and thank you for making sure that we got an explanation. I think that's helpful, and I have said what I needed to say about it. And so on to this bill, I do have a question, sponsor. Here it states in section B, capital B, that the alleged conduct must remain confidential, must be exempt from other provisions of law, shall not be a public record, and shall not be disclosed for any other purpose other than criminal investigation or criminal prosecution. And one thing in the old provision, I really just want to see how this works together, it says nothing in this section shall preclude the District Attorney General from complying with the continuing duty to disclose evidence under the rules of discovery in a criminal prosecution. And so one thing is the purpose of the confidentiality for the person who is making the alleged claim, and your answer to that will help me with my next question.
Representative Shaw.
Thank you. It basically is offering confidentiality early in the process for that person who makes the report, giving the DA an opportunity to further investigate the case, make sure they will come out with the right answers.
Representative Pearson.
Okay, and the second part to this is, would the individual who is being covered under confidentiality for these purposes, would that individual, if needed, be allowed to go and testify in court, and would they have protections to do so? Because I see in a lot of this legislation, there's a lot of talk about confidentiality of the person who's reporting, which I think is really important, but not wanting that to prevent them, if there is a criminal prosecution, from being able to go to testify in court. As you understand it, would this legislation prevent that, or is the intention that it would allow for people who, although they have protection on the confidentiality with discovery documents, to be able to go before a court and testify?
Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think that would be left up to the DA. That would be something that would be left up to the leading investigation in terms of whether or not that person would be allowed to do that.
Representative Pearson.
Okay, I think that's something, overall, I don't see a lot wrong with this bill, but that's probably something to get clarity on, because if it is about protecting those individuals, wanting to make sure that protection goes throughout and have that at least as part of the intention, if not codified in this legislation. Thank you, Speaker and sponsor.
Representative Shaw, all good?
My motion.
All right, any further discussion?